So it's 30 minutes past 9. I welcome you to another exciting edition of From the Newspaper, streaming live from the premises of the Oasis Hotel, Akpete, Ibadan. Good morning to you all. We are listening to MFM 97.3, where we set the agenda and project the truth. And don't forget you can watch us live on Facebook at MFM 97.3, and watching us, do well to like, comment, and share. Moreover, don't forget this program is in form of 3 segments. The first segment is the weather forecast report of 3 major cities in Nigeria: the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, the commercial city of Lagos, and the vibrant city of Ibadan, where we are transmitting live from. Where the second segment on the show is the headlines make round of Nigerian newspaper, and as usual, always bring 4 newspaper every morning: the Punch newspaper, the Vanguard newspaper, the Guardian newspaper, and the Nigerian Tribune. Where the last segment on the show is the details to the headlines. My name is SHAQEEROH AKINYEMI. Alright, so moving on to the first segment on the show this morning, which is the weather forecast report. And the first city is the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. At 10 a.m. in Abuja this morning, it's thunderstorms with 25 degrees Celsius. At 11 a.m. it's thunderstorms with 24 degrees Celsius. And at 12 p.m. it's cloudy with 26 degrees Celsius. At 1 p.m. it's cloudy with 28 degrees Celsius. And at 2 p.m. it's thunderstorms with 26 degrees Celsius. At 3 p.m. it's thunderstorms with 24 degrees Celsius. And at 4 p.m. it's thunderstorms with 25 degrees Celsius. At 5 p.m. it's cloudy with 25 degrees Celsius. And at 6 p.m. it's cloudy with 24 degrees Celsius. At 7 p.m. it's cloudy with 23 degrees Celsius. And at 8 p.m. it's cloudy with 23 degrees Celsius. Up until 9 p.m., 10 p.m. is thunderstorms with 22 degrees Celsius. And at 11 p.m. is thunderstorms with 22 degrees Celsius. Alright, so at 10 a.m. in the commercial city of Lagos this morning, it's mostly cloudy with 29 degrees Celsius. And at 11 a.m. it's cloudy with 29 degrees Celsius. At 12 p.m. it's cloudy with 29 degrees Celsius. And at 1 p.m. it's cloudy with 30 degrees Celsius. At 2 p.m. it's cloudy with 30 degrees Celsius. And at 3 p.m. it's cloudy with 30 degrees Celsius. At 4 p.m. it's cloudy with 29 degrees Celsius. And at 5 p.m. it's cloudy with 29 degrees Celsius. At 6 p.m. it's cloudy with 28 degrees Celsius. And at 7 p.m. it's cloudy with 28 degrees Celsius. At 8 p.m. it's cloudy with 28 degrees Celsius. Up until 9 p.m., 8 p.m., 10 p.m., 11 p.m. with 27 degrees Celsius. At 10 a.m. in the vibrant city of Ibadan this morning is rain with 27 degrees Celsius. And at 11 a.m. is rain with 26 degrees Celsius. At 12 p.m. is cloudy with 28 degrees Celsius. And at 1 p.m. is cloudy with 29 degrees Celsius. At 2 p.m. is cloudy with 30 degrees Celsius. And at 3 p.m. is rain with 29 degrees Celsius. At 4 p.m. is rain with 29 degrees Celsius. And at 5 p.m. is rain with 28 degrees Celsius. At 6 p.m. is rain with 26 degrees Celsius. And 7 p.m. is cloudy with 28 degrees Celsius. At 8 p.m. is cloudy with 25 degrees Celsius. And at 9 p.m. is thunderstorms with 24 degrees Celsius. At 10 p.m. is thunderstorms with 24 degrees Celsius. And at 11 p.m. is cloudy with 24 degrees Celsius. Alright, so moving on to the second segment, which is the headlines make round of Nigerian newspaper. And the first newspaper we're bringing on is the Punch newspaper. The lead story on the Punch newspaper this morning says Dangote for Spengasan. NLC mobilizes workers for strike against refinery. Page 33 has the details to that story. Right down to that story that says labor places have released on alert as Spengasan shuts down NNPC, NOPRC, NMDRPA offices, and page 33 has the details to that story. the line of the Punch newspaper this morning says, church members avoided me over Muslim ticket, says Remi Tinubu, and page 40 has the details to that story. Another story on the Punch newspaper this morning says, NNPC Dangote Refinery signed fresh 2-year crude deal, and page 34 has the details to that story. Nigeria at 65, Federal Government Council Independence Day Parade, and page 2 has the details to that story. Still on the Punch newspaper, another story says 2027 woeful record with us Jonathan, says presidency, and page 40 has the details to that story. Court bank for releasing Osun local government allocation, and page 41 has the details to that story. Lagos guard faces trial for kidnapping employer's son, and page 4 and 5 have the analysis to that story. Another story on the Punch newspaper says, tax reforms exempt food, education and agriculture, says FIRS, and page 34 has the details to that story. Moving on to the Vanguard newspaper. 2027 presidency, no automatic ticket for Jonathan in PDP, says Benga Asim Group, and page 14 has the details to that story. The Vanguard newspaper says, court stop Pengasans orders from cotton gas supply to Dangote Refinery, and page 5 out the details to that story. And there are two riders to that story. The first rider says, we are not aware of any court order, says Pengasan. Barricades NNPC held, TOA NMDPRA. NUPRC as strike begins, and page 5 out the details to that stories. Presidency to Jonathan, Nigerians won't forget your dismal record in office, and page 40 has the details to that story. Last story on the Vanguard newspaper says, Tinubu, governors APC, big wigs, order storms, Imo today to unveil Zodima's book, and page 11 has the details to that story. To the Guardian newspaper. The latest story on the Guardian newspaper this morning says, gas usage has grown as Pengasan strike crash power generation, says export. Gas usage grows as Pengasan strike crash power generation, says export, and page 6 has the details to that story. the Guardian newspaper says, not get bulk of 330 billion naira social support, says Tinubu. Not get bulk of 330 billion naira social support, says Tinubu, and page 3 has the details to that story. Federal Government Council's Independence Parade insists Nigeria still works in progress, and page 3 has the details to that story. Still on the Guardian newspaper, another story says, Federal Government denies releasing Osun's local government allocation as cost stop disbursement. Federal government denies releasing Osun local government allocation as cost stops disbursement, and page 5 has the details to that story. Overtake Osun as voters registration hits 6.2 million, and page 30 has the details to that story. Body sacked thousands in Katsina as Oriwa fault pays diesels, and page 30 has the details to that story. Also issues federal government 14 days ultimatum over 7 pounds demand, and page 7 has the details to that story. Declares part Utom's shadow government unlawful, and page 4 has the details to that story. Story on the Guardian newspaper says, debate over ethnicity, competence deepen as INEC succession battle begins, and page 6 has details to that story. To the last newspaper on the second segment, which is Nigerian Tribune. And the latest story on Nigerian Tribune this morning says, Dangote vs Pengasan, NLC joint phrase set for nationwide action, and page 4 has the details to that story. Two riders to that story. Court stops Pengasan order from cutting gas supply to Dangote refinery. And the last rider says, as federal government meets disputing parties, and page 4 has the analysis to that stories. Story on Nigerian Tribune says, federal government unveil program to deliver clean, off-grid electricity over 17.5 million Nigerians. Federal government unveil program to deliver clean, off-grid electricity to over 17.5 million Nigerians. And page 3 has the details to that story. two riders to that story. The first rider says, Council Independence Day Parade, and the last rider says, President will speak to Nigerians on October 4th, and page 3 have analysis to that stories. Presidency welcomes Jonathan to 2027 race, and page 30 has the details to that story. And there is one rider to that story that says, Nigeria won't forget its failure, and page 30 has the details to that story. Another story on Nigerian Tribune this morning says, federal government made thesis submission mandatory for NYSC mobilization, and page 3 has the details to that story. British diplomat dismisses reports to genocide against Christians in Nigeria as false, and page 5 has the details to that story. CBR figures 86.2 million as Bono displaces Osun, and page 6 has the analysis to that story. Details to that story. CBN OAFG denies the releasing withdread funds to APC chairman. Councillors at court restrain UBHs from paying out Osun local government allocation. CBN OAGF denied releasing withheld funds to APC chairman. Councillors at court restrain UBH from paying out Osun local government allocation, and page 3 have the details to that story. ASU issues 14-day strike notice over unresolved issues, and page 6 has the details to that story. And the last story on the second segment says, Court declares Part Utom's shadow government illegal, and page 5 has details to that story. Alright, so we have come to the end of the second segment. Before we divert into the last segment, let's go on a break. Stay tuned, I'll be right back.
ọ̀rẹ́ ẹ̀ lè gbà mí gbogbo àwọn ọ̀lẹ́kùn ilé mi ti dógùn kódà gbogbo àwọn káàsì tí ń bẹ nílé mi kò lówó lójúmọ́.
ibo ló ti rà á.
ṣé nígbà àwọn kan ti ń tàlẹ́ gbọ́n.
o ti sọ wọ́n gbowó tó o ti gbọ́n pa ilé ìtajà Starlands Homes Wear Enterprise ó kù nígbà àwọn gùdù eléyìí tó dojúkọ ilé ìfowópamọ́ Keystone Bank agbègbè àbáyọ̀mí ìwòrò nílẹ̀ Ìbàdàn. báwo lẹ ṣe fẹ́ sí àwọn ilẹ̀kùn ayẹta àwọn táìtì tí ó gbóòórùn iyì àti ẹwà bá ilé àwọn àgbà omi lọ́lọ́kan òjọ̀kan moving sheet eléyìí tí ó gbé àwòrán ilé jáde àti bẹ́ẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ gbogbo rẹ̀ ló wà lójú kan náà lọ́dọ̀ Starlands Homes Wear Enterprise fún gbogbo kọ́lékọ́lé àti àgbàlékọ́ gbogbo àwọn ohun èlò ilé eléyìí tí ó sọ ní ìrẹ́jì àwòdání ẹnu ọ̀dọ̀ Starlands Homes Wear Enterprise ní ilé àkàsí yìí ẹ pè sórí ẹ̀rọ ìbánisọ̀rọ̀ yìí 0708 760 51 lẹ́ẹ̀kan sí 0708-760-5119. Talons Homes Wear Enterprise fojúlówó àwọn èròjà ilé tó ní òun wò lójú.
ìgbà tó tó bá ní í ṣe baálé ọba gbọ́migbọ́mi kọ̀ǹkọ̀ tó tún kọ̀ǹkọ̀ ní í ṣe ọba wọn lálẹ́ odò ó jẹ́ tìròyìn tó kojú owó orin tó dùn ún gbọ́ létí àṣà ẹ̀fẹ̀ àtàwọn ọ̀rọ̀ ìṣítí lọ́lọ́kanjọ̀kan ìkànnì MFM rédíò ọba ló jẹ́ láwùjọ rédíò.
The Aces Hotels and Conference Center is one and only event place with a clear difference and tasteful excellence here in the ancient city of Ibadan. For your next and upcoming event, whether marriage engagement, wedding reception, anniversaries, conferences, seminars or birthday, the Aces Hotels and Conference Center is affordable and fully equipped with all imaginable ultra-modern facilities for your total convenience without headache, security, power, environment, parking space, and royal service by their staff. All roads lead to the Aces Hotel and Conference Center today at kilometer 2.5 Ijokodo Akbete Akufo Road at Kere Ibadan. For booking and more information, call 080-8746-7420, 080-9744-1898, or 080-2869-0012. The Aces Hotels and Conference Center, where comfortability speaks than words.
gbogbo náà gbogbo bẹ́ẹ̀ ló sọ ní gbọ́ ọba wọn fẹ́ gbọ́ mi dára tó sì fẹ́ máa yọ òwe síra AMM and TV oníkọ́ ọmọ tọ́ba ti débẹ̀ gbogbo bí kíbi lórí social media wà bá wọn pàdé wo má jẹ tán má jẹ kémi kó gbé ọ̀tún àbáyé o tèmi ni ó ṣe o tí mo sọ yìí òní ọgbọ́n AMM and TV iléeṣẹ́ tó ní àbá àjẹjẹ àgbà ló kọ̀ mí o sàlámù alaykum.
So welcome back to the show. It's still from the newspaper. Don't forget you can watch us live on Facebook at MFM 97.3. As you're watching us, do well to like, comment, and share. We are now in the last segment of from the newspaper this morning, which is the details to the headlines. And first story I'm bringing on this morning says, NLC mobilizes workers for strike against refinery. The Nigeria Labour Congress has directed its affiliate union to begin urgent mobilization and prepare for nationwide industrial action against the Dangote Group, accusing the conglomerate of the sustained anti-workers practice. This came as a nationwide strike declared by the Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria on Monday against the refinery paralyzed operations to key oil and gas regulatory institutions, including the Nigeria National Petroleum Company and the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission and the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority. Also on Monday, the National Industrial Court in Abuja restrained the Pengassan from embarking on its industrial action against the Dangote Petroleum Refinery and Petrochemical FZE, barring the union from halting crude oil and gas supply to $20 billion Lekki-based refinery. However, Pengassan declared that it was not aware of the court injunction, arguing that court order or process was served by a court bailiff and through the social media. In an internal memo shared with the Punch on Monday, had addressed that the President and the General Secretary of Affiliates Union, NLC President Joe Ajaero, placed NLC affiliates on alert. The directive follows a clash between Dangote Refinery and Pengassan. The oil union earlier announced that more than 800 workers at the Dangote Refinery were dismissed after attempting ununionize. The union alleged that many of the jobs were replaced with more than 2,000 expatriates, mainly from India. Dangote has denied the accusation, saying the layout were part of the restructuring of improving safety and prevent sabotage, adding that over 3,000 Nigerians remain employed. The startup has already left Pengassan to order a halt of crude and gas supplies, forcing temporary shutdown of the operation at the refinery, which is critical to Nigerian export to cut fuel imports and ease pressure on foreign exchange. Government mediators have issued steps into the prevent prolonged disruption as a meeting held in Abuja on Monday, involving officials of the federal government, Pengassan and Dangote Group. Each affiliate union has been ordered to set up and Action Mobilization Committee left directive with the NLC National Secretary within 74 hours to coordinate strategies, logic, and communication. Punch correspondent observed that the NUPRC headquarters in Abuja, the main gate was firmly locked and key, leaving several employees standing outside the premises. Security operative on duty confirmed that no staff were allowed entry in the line with the strike directive issued by the union. Similarly, activities at the NMDPRA headquarters in the busy central business district were completely grounded as workers fully complied with the industrial action. Confirming the situation, the Pengasan chairman in NMDPRA, Tony Izigboa, told the Punch that the union has achieved 100% compliance, effectively restricting access to staff and visitors. He added that his colleagues had also enforced 100% of compliance at the NLPCL and other relevant agencies. Pengasan said the strike came inevitably after each alleged wrongful dismissal about 800 workers at the Dangote Petroleum Refinery. Government cancels Independence Day parade. The federal government has cancelled the parade earlier scheduled to mark Nigeria's 65th independence anniversary on Wednesday, October 1st. The announcement was contained in a statement issued on Monday by the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation. It added that the government regrets any inconvenience caused, but stressed that other activities lined up for the anniversary will proceed as scheduled. These include the traditional presidential broadcast, cultural program, and the grand final of the National Campus Debate. At the World Press Conference in Abuja on Monday, the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Senator George Akume, explained that Independence Day is not only a ceremonial date but an opportunity to sober reflection and renewed patriotism. Akume praised President Bola Tinubu's Renew Hope agenda, describing it as a guiding framework for transforming Nigeria. He acknowledged the hardship Nigeria are facing, but the government is determined to stabilize the economy. The minister praised President Tinubu's leadership, highlighting reform in the taxation, education, infrastructure, energy, oil and gas, solid mineral, agriculture, and healthcare. He added that Nigeria continues to demonstrate leadership in Africa through the peacekeeping roles, contributing to regional stability and strong voice in the global affairs. Church members avoided me over Muslim ticket, says Remi Tinubu. The first leader, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, says her husband's decision to run a Muslim presidential ticket in 2023 left her isolated in her local church, describing the episode as a bitter pill that split her parish and tested her faith. The 5-chapter memorial is arranged by Fear of 2021 to 2025 with a foreword by Dr. Folashade Olukoya, a Mountain of Fire Miracle Ministries. The Redeemed Christian Church of God is one of the Nigeria's largest Pentecostal denominations with a sprawling parish nationwide and across the globe. She noted that the division wholly proved the diversity of political learning in the church. The ruling All Progressive Congress Same Faith ticket in 2022 revived one of the Nigeria's most sensitive political arguments at the time. Critics, including prominent Christian group, warned that the move could inflame division in the religious diverse country. However, Tinubu's supporters countered their counterpart, zoning and coalition should not decide by the ticket. The First Lady also said she had forgiven individuals who betrayed her husband during the 2023 election. She insisted that she had no grudge against anyone and has since chosen peace. Lagos guard faces trial for kidnapping employer's son. A security guard, Amos Kinney, has been arrested by the Lagos State Police Command for allegedly abducting his employer's 2-year-old son in the Elemuro area of the state. Punch Metro learned from the statement by the command spokesperson, Abimbola Adebisi, on Monday that the incident happened on September 24, 2025. According to her, the child mothers report that Elemuro Police Division that the guard has fled with her son and her mobile phone to an unknown destination around 11:50 p.m. She added that the suspects later used the stolen phone to contact the child's father, demanding 5 million naira of ransom for the boy release. According to the statement, the pressure forced the guard to release the child before operatives tracked him to a hideout in Elerimo Axis on September 23. He was said to have confessed to the crime and was also kept in custody by the police. IBADAN further noted that he would be in charge court and conclusion of the investigation. Punch Metro reported in August that 32-year-old printer Chimuze Clement was arrested operative at the command for allegedly abducting his customer's 7-year-old son in Ketu Alakwere area of the state. He was also said to have later conducted the victim mother to demand the ransom of 7 million naira for the boy release. The detective later trained the painter of the Ijegun area of the state, where he was arrested while the boy was rescued in the process. Dangote Refinery signed fresh 2-year crude deal. The Nigeria Petroleum Company Limited has signed another 2-year crude supply agreement with the Dangote Petroleum Refinery. The report gathered that the deal signed last month would ensure the steady supply of crude to 650,000 barrels per day refinery located in Lekki, Lagos. It was further gathered that the deal in line with the federal government determination to supply more crude oil to facility, especially in Naira. The Punch learned that about 32 million barrels of the crude have been allocated to the refinery from October 2024 to date. Out of 32 million barrels, 60%, being 49.3 million barrels, was sold in Naira to the refinery, according to the detail obtained from the NNPC on Monday. Record that Dangote Refinery recently announced stopping petrol sales in Naira, citing the exhaustion of the crude oil for allocation at the ransom. But under hours later, the Naira Crude Oil Technical Committee chairman intervenes and the company announced the resumption to PMS sales in Naira. Speaking with the Punch correspondent, the Chief Corporate Communication Officer of NNPC, Adaode, said that the company has continued to allocate crude to the refinery in Naira. According to Ode, NNPC, Dangote Refinery and Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority periodically reconcile the volume of the cost of crude oil supplied in Naira consummate with the crude oil delivered. The spokesperson maintained that the state-owned energy company and the refinery negotiated with the signed a new sales and purchase agreement with the World New terminated in 2027. Meanwhile, the steering community of downstream crude oil and refined petroleum sales in local currency initiative, chaired by the Minister of Finance and coordinating Minister of the Economy, Mr. Wale Edun, has scheduled Nigeria the purported suspension of the Naira for crude oil arrangement has been amicably resolved. The Director of the Information and Public Relations at the Financial Ministry, Mohammed Manga, said in a statement that a meeting held by the committee over the weekend had in attendance in the Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, Senator Atiku Baguda, the chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue Service, Mr. Zak Adedeji, Stable also chaired by Technical Committee, representative of the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, the Central Bank of Nigeria, and the African Bank, the Dangote Refinery. He affirmed that there will not be a disruption in the supply or refined petroleum products across the country. For the avoidance of doubt, the committee reassured that the crude oil for the Nigerian initiative will continue. Abia assures public of transparent recruitment. The Abia State Civil Service Commission has assured the residents that the ongoing healthcare workers recruitment process is free, fair and merit-based, dismissing allegations that recruitment slots were being sold. In a statement signed on Monday by the Commission Chairman, Enoeze, the Commission described the claims as baseless and unfounded, emphasizing that its recruitment procedure adhered to the global human resources standard. The Commission added that the recruitment process has been received praise by the candidates and the stakeholder for its integrity and transparency. It also confirmed that the final result of the candidates' documentation status will be publicly published on the official recruitment portal. It urged the stakeholders to remain confident in the fairness of the exercise and encourage anyone with variable information about attempting to compromise to the process to report it immediately via the Commission reporting portal. The Commission reiterated that its dedication to conducting the recruitment with the highest standard of integrity, aiming to build a competent and professional healthcare workers for Abia State. Abuja Kaduna train platform open for ticket payment, says NRC. The Nigeria Railway Corporation says the online ticketing platform for Abuja Kaduna train service is now open for payment. The Chief Public Relations Officer, NRC, Mr. Salistos Oniyadu, said that this statement on Tuesday in Lagos. According to him, in a preparation for the resumption of service, the journey time has been reduced following a revise of the temporary spread restriction (TSR) to enhance operation. He added that the management of NRC appreciated the patience and understanding of the esteemed passenger during the suspension period. He ensured the public's safety, comfort, and customer satisfaction remain top priorities. The sales of tickets follow a temporary pause after a passenger train traveling from Abuja to Kaduna died on August 26, a Tuesday morning, leaving several carriages overturned in a triggering panic among those on the board. NRC had earlier announced it had a complete comprehensive safety, technical and operational check after the suspension of service. From the newspaper this morning says, tax reform exempt food, education, agriculture, says FIRS. Nigeria's tax landscape is set for a historic overhaul. The Federal Inland Revenue Service has explained that the government reform exempt food, education, shared transportation, and agriculture from the value-added tax. The reform described as the most significant fiscal transformation since independence are designed to ease the burden on citizens and businesses while improving government revenue collection. The executive chairman of FES, Zach Adideji, revealed the changes as an interview making in his 2 years in office. He credited President Bola Tinubu for fulfilling his campaign promise to certify tax compliance and remove outlays faced by taxpayers. The tax consolidation multiple tax reform into a single code scheduled to take effect in January. The new code reduced the number of tax types as a single digit, introduced a simpler framework for the individual and businesses, and it provided relief for the small enterprises under the provision businesses with the annual turnover below 50 million naira will no longer pay tax. While all the personal income tax has been adjusted to protect low income earners. President Tinubu signed 4 major bills into law on January 26, 2025. The Nigeria Tax Act, Nigeria Tax Administration Act, Nigeria Revenue Service Establishment Act, and the Joint Revenue Board Establishment Act, collectively known as the Tax Quarter, with the aim body that the tax base, improving compliance and enhanced transparency across tiers of government. Tinubu also appointed to Taiwo Oyedele Fiscal Policy to partner with the African Tax Leaders at PricewaterhouseCoopers, the chair of the Presidential Committee on Fiscal Policies and Tax Reform. The committee, comprising private and public sector experts, has been instrumental in designing and implementing the reform. According to Adedeji, the reform are already yielding results. Nigeria's tax to GDP ratio has been rising to 10% to 13.5% in just 2 years, with a target of 80% by 2027. In August, the Federation account divulged a record 2 trillion naira, with nearly 70% of the monthly government allocation now upcoming for the taxes collected by the feds. It disclosed that improved revenue has helped 30 states pay 1.85 trillion naira in debt within 13-18 months, while the debt service cost, previously consuming 90% of the government's revenue, have dropped about 50%. External service has also grown to the back of stronger fiscal stability. As part of the changes, first will be renewed in the Nigerian Revenue Service to reflect its role and central tax authority for the tiers of government, not just the federal level. The word federal gave the wrong impression. It credited the Tinubu-bordered economic decision, including fuel subsidy removal and exchange rate on unification, with strengthening the federation accounts. IDG acknowledged this reform as have caused a short-term hardship, linking them to the pain of women in labor. It stressed that, however, the government interventions such as compressed the natural gas bases and crude oil support for local refineries are already cushioning the effects, with the fuel price showing the sign of decline. It further explained that the consolidation tax law strengthened the compliance and curb a version of the destruction phase operation. Taxpayers are now grouped into small, medium, large, and cottage, with the one-step shop created with filling payments.